Hey guys, welcome to the Powerful Man Show, where we help married businessmen save their marriages without having to talk about it, get unstuck, and gain clarity in their lives. As I like to say, life is too short for average. I'm your host, Doug Holt, with my co host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Now let's get this started.
Gentlemen, it's great to be with you on another episode of the Powerful Man Show. Mr. Dougie Fresh. How are you, sir?
I'm doing excellent, man. Very excited for all that we got going on in the movement and watching our client wins channel that we have on
Yeah.
Slack. So the guys listening to this, if you don't know what the coaches do, as well as the rest of the team, our team's a little bit over 30 deep now in the Powerful Man movement. And we have a client win section. So we spend a lot of time celebrating the men that are coming through our programs, the wins that they're having, that they're sharing, because we take it very personal, guys. You guys, we want you guys to win. And, we spend a lot of time hoping to make sure that you guys win and setting you guys up for success. So
Mm,
it's always fun. I always say I'm in your corner. It's because I am in your corner and I'm always watching. So
mm.
super excited reading that channel, Tim.
Yeah, I love it every time I go in there. I realize I opened up with gentlemen, but there was actually a lot of women that are reaching out to us lately as
We
well.
got a lot of
So,
the women that listen to this show and they love what we're talking
yeah.
about.
Yeah, so apologies. I didn't include you women in the opening of that. Anyway, what I like to talk about, Doug, there's often a fight in the men that come to us, and it's this idea that they've been living a life where they've been almost trying to be someone and something that they aren't, right?
Yep.
We're often fed this ideal through marketing. The idea of success is the guy that's busy, that's leading these large meetings, the guy that's got the Rolex, the guy that's got the Lamborghini, the guy that's just in demand, right? And it's kind of interesting because 100 years ago, a sign of wealth was the amount of free time that you had. That meant you were wealthy. The sign of wealth today is busyness, a lack of time, or
It
at
seems
least
that way.
for a lot of some people. If you're busy, you're in demand, then you must be doing well, right? Which is crazy. And it kind of feeds into the idea that the guys that come to us is this fight because they have been fed this idea that they must be this crusader, this warrior, this superhero that has to be as strong and as competent as possible. And as a result, they're very much lived into the ideal that where there's a will, there's a way. And in a lot of respects, it served them in some respects. But it's also meant that success, if you will, has come at the cost of a hell of a lot: their health, their happiness, their relationships. And they realize that it's just not serving them. But it's so everywhere, right? In media, be it on the news, be it on social media, whatever, right? And the reality is, a lot of the guys that come to us realize that actually doesn't serve them. Being the hero, being the warrior, being the superhero, even, um, just doesn't really serve them because the greatest fear of somebody like that is vulnerability. So as a
Mm.
result, these guys put on a mask, they put on a facade, they pretend like everything's okay. They don't want to be seen as quote unquote a chicken or soft or weak. And the core desire often is to prove their worth through courageous acts. And that's why a lot of them almost have a bit of a hero complex. I'll solve it, I'll swoop in. And it's led to a lot of guys employing family members, right? Putting family members on the payroll, feeling responsible for their entire family, not just their immediate family, but also their mother, their father, their sister, their cousin, just so they can. And it comes from a good place, but the thing is, it just wrecks them because there's so much self-sacrifice because that isn't who they are. Instead, the kind of guy that they are, and they don't want to admit this at first because they kind of see it as weakness, is kind of more like the everyman, right? And what I mean by the everyman is they really do the the time when they're the happiest, right? If you think about the guys post alpha reset, prime example, right? When they come out of the alpha reset, oh, when they come out of the alpha reset, they they have this like, such a sense of belonging, right? They feel connected to themselves, to the men they've gone through the experience with, to you, to us, the coaches. That's why the Brotherhood is called the Brotherhood. We had a guy posting in there a couple of days ago saying the Brotherhood really is a brotherhood. The powerful man unites men and creates these spaces for men to come together and so on. And they're really down to earth men that want to develop solid values and virtues, right? And that's kind of not, you don't really have that as much with the warrior or the superhero that they're told to be. Um, Often they worry that if they actually surrender to who they actually naturally are, that they're going to lose their edge and they're going to lose their drive. And we all know that from watching these men make the shift, that's not the case at all. They achieve more with less effort, with more happiness, with more free time, with more energy to reinvest into experiences with the wife and the kids and their health and themselves. So I just want to open up the conversation really and ask you what your experience is with this, like witnessing these two versions, both in the world we're surrounded with, and also how the men transition through this that we work with.
Yeah, I love this topic. I hate the term everyman. I was going to tell you that right off.
Mm.
I know that that's a very specific term you're pulling out from archetypes, and
Yep.
it makes a lot of sense to me, but I just hate that term for some reason.
It just
Big,
sounds dull, doesn't it?
it
But
does, and that's
there's so much
exactly
power in it too.
well. You look at the men that we serve. So the men that come through the powerful man movement, and a lot of guys have been on both sides of this. So the media is selling us, and I fall into this, Tim, at times that you want to get the nice car. You want to get not only your house, but the beach house and the lake house. And when you fly first class. But you got to show it on social media because it doesn't count if you don't show it, right? And a
Mm.
lot of that is external validation, right? So when
Mm.
men go into this phase, they're doing it to get validated externally of themselves. It's not because
Mhm.
the new car, I don't care if it's a Maserati or what it is, it's great, right? I'm for it, and it loses that new car smell pretty quickly, doesn't it, guys? Like you don't
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're just in a freaking car. Now, some of you guys have, a specific vehicle that does things, right? Maybe you have, a four-wheel drive vehicle that you take off-roading and you love doing that. That's a little bit different than what we're talking about here. We're talking more about the showboating. There's another men's organization that's out there, and that's what they focus on. And they teach the guys, yes, you need to drive harder. You need to get the new car. You need to do all the dress the certain way and face this image. And it's just a facade. It's fake. And I think now a lot of guys are seeing this more, the media manipulation more so. I experience it all the time. So as you know, like Tim, we hired a marketing firm to come in and talk to us. And one of the things they wanted me to do was take more pictures of my lifestyle, like film my life, because I do a lot of cool things. I take my kids stand up paddleboarding at the lake. I do we have the lifestyle, you and I, Tim, that allows freedom, right? We get to go out and I spend time with my wife. I date my wife. I spend time with my family. I play with my kids. I was playing Legos just before we recorded this, right? Because that's more important to me. I have tons of work to do, but the thing is, I want to watch the sunset with my family and enjoy that moment rather than getting my camera out to take a picture of the sunset for social
Mm.
media so that everybody else
Yeah.
knows that, oh, wow, Doug is on a mountaintop with his family watching the sunset. How freaking cool is that? I would prefer to be on that mountaintop with my family, watch the sunset, enjoy that moment, and miss the, oh, wow, Doug is doing this epic thing. And that's something that you and I have personally, both of us have dealt with. I mean, you just got back from an African safari, right? Where you're telling me they're driving you up to this mountaintop and you showed up and they had, gin and tonics that are handmade for you and all kinds of foods and things like that. And for most quote influencers out there, if you follow somebody on social media, whether it be, and this is no disrespect to these people, but the Gary Vaynerchuk's, the Grant Cardones, the, whoever else, they would have had the selfie version out of the camera, talking to everybody about it. Instead, you chose to be with your partner, Amelia, and enjoy the experience. And you
Mhm.
took some pictures, maybe, but you did not blast this across social media to say, hey, guys, look where I am. Look at this from a day to day moment. And that's just one example. You're in the Seychelles, same thing. I think the quote, everyman, which I'm going to say is a normal guy, right? Normal business owner
Mm.
who's high achiever, successful. They have their priorities in order, like you do, Tim, and they want to really they want what's right. They want to spend time with their wife. They want to reconcile their marriage. They want to spend time with people they love. And the difference is society and media are pushing you to do the opposite. I mean, look, you can't sell a Ferrari to a guy unless you promise the guy that when they buy the Ferrari, there's a dream. When you do this, everybody's going to look at you, women are going to love you. That whole storyline is just a
Mhm.
story. And it's not really what most guys want. Most men that we attract anyway, they're successful businessmen, they're smart as hell, right? But they also have very good family values and they want to spend time with the people they love.
And the thing is, you could sit next to one of these guys in business class and you'd be thinking, how the hell does that guy afford business class? Because
Uh,
it's so unassuming, right? The guys that we work with, they're
I
just,
don't know. Yeah.
I mean, what I mean by that is they're not going to be sat there looking all flashy, right? They don't have anything to prove, right? So they're successful and they're driven and they've got their priorities in order, like you say, and they're very unassuming with it too. Um,
Well, they have that unassuming confidence. And so I
yeah,
get what you're trying to say. It gives me this image of, like our guys a lot of our guys have really nice watch collections. They dress nice. They've made a lot of money. They're doing well in life. Um, but they're not flaunting it. Right.
no,
So it, the way I would describe it is, if you're sitting next to them in business class, first class, or coach or whatever, what you're going to notice is a quiet assurance. And that's what I
mm,
think is attractive is they're confident in who they are and they're confident in the men that they are. And they don't need to hide behind a Gucci suit or whatever
no.
to prove their value and prove their worth in society.
No. Whereas what they've left behind is the idea that they need to be as strong and as competent as possible. They need
Right.
to swoop in and help everybody. They need to look the part. They're constantly making up for something that was lacking internally, to your point, needing the external validation. But the amazing thing about these guys as well is within them, they've also got the desire not to be fenced in, right? They've got the desire to have freedom and experience freedom, but not. I mean, money plays into that, but the transition a lot of them make is experiencing the freedom that comes from being free to be who you truly are and create from that world. So instead of you serving your business obviously serves your life because it gets to be in, for the men that make the shift anyway, gets to be an expression of you. And they set it up in a way because, like you said, priorities are in order. They value family time, the value, the health, and so it's not like they make this shift and then become boxed in and mundane. They still get to live great lives as well.
Well, and that's exactly what it is. Only reason I was correcting you is I could picture somebody who hasn't met these guys like you and I know these guys. So it's not like they're wearing, a wife beater and shorts on a plane flying internationally. I mean, friggin' some of
Uh,
these guys dress nice. Like I'm looking at them like, man, I got to step up my game. Just from a place of desire, not competition. But I think what you can tell when you meet somebody who's hollow. And what I mean by that in business or any other way, like I've been in a lot of rooms where for negotiations and pitching. And when I go in, you read the room just like anybody else does. And you can tell if somebody who has false bravado, right? So in other words, they're hiding behind the suit, the watch, the car, the look, whatever it may be, and or hiding behind the big words, right? They start using words like manifold, multifaceted. They use words that, I think, what is it? They use a $3 word that should be a 5-cent word. There's some saying like that. But they use big words to cover up so you think that they're intelligent. And when you see that, you just realize that that guy's just not happy. He's not fulfilled, right? He's just faking it and he's scared as shit that you're going to find out. As
mm,
soon as you pierce that armor, especially the egoic, cocky guy, that's the easiest, right? All of us in our 20s had a version of this that we were, right? But when you see this as an older man, like a guy that's in his late 30s, especially or 40s, if you pierce his armor, he just crumbles, he just crushes. Whereas the guys that we work with, when they go through the activation method, or especially an alpha reset, they're grounded. And you could take a
Mm,
baseball bat to their armor, so to speak, and they're not going to change. It's what you see is what you get. If
mm,
they have a nice watch, if they got a $50,000 watch on, the guys that wear those are like, they could tell you about every piece of that watch. They really love the watch, not what the watch represents externally to the world. That's a $50,000 watch, but what it represents to them on the craftsmanship, how this watch was made, the detail that was put into it,
mhm,
the history behind the watch. Like it's internal validation for them versus external validation that marketing people or everybody else wants you to know. And
mm,
honestly, it's something I struggle with. Again, going back to the whole idea of, posting messages on social media and being on social media. I'm so much out in the world enjoying my life that I just doesn't come to my mind to grab my phone and film, right? And sometimes it does. I'm like, I don't want to ruin this with my daughter, right? Or with my son or
mm.
my wife or with my friends. I want to ruin this moment by somehow making it cheesy to showcase it. I think a lot of our men feel the same way.
I'd agree. So, what advice would you give to somebody who's listening to this who recognizes themselves as that hero, if you will, that's swept in and has been the warrior for so long and know it really isn't working for them? They're tired, they're maybe a bit unfulfilled, self sacrificing, and they want to make that shift. What advice would you give?
Yeah, man. First of all, I get it, right? Imposter syndrome is the biggest thing for us as men, especially businessmen. Like, what does it mean to be a modern day man, right? Nobody's taught us. So first of all, I get it. Don't beat yourself up. The second thing is you get to find out where your true north is, where you're grounded. How can you be grounded, become grounded? And that's easier said than done. It's not through an audiobook. I tried that early on. It didn't work for me. And I went through hundreds of books. It's really about experience and understanding yourself. This is not self-serving, but I'd be lying to you if I didn't say the best thing I've ever discovered for men is the alpha reset is the best thing. It's our 4-day program. I just got back 3 weeks ago. I got back recently, but 3 weeks ago, I led 10 men through that. Tim, I know there's another one coming up in the UK, et cetera. It's the best experience because it strips away the BS. So your parents, society, your wife, your friends, they've piled on so much crap on you, man. I get it. You don't even know it anymore. Right? It's kind of like weight loss. When someone loses 50 pounds, they don't know, they didn't realize how much of a burden it was going upstairs and how much easier it can be, right? Because
Mm,
they've dealt with that extra 50 pounds for decades. So you got to strip it away. The first thing you want to look at is when you buy something, it's just an easy way of looking at this for this model. When you buy something, are you doing it to prove something to yourself or to somebody else? And if the answer is yes, and just be honest with yourself. If it's yes, don't do it. If
mm,
it fills you from a core desire, go for it. Enjoy it, man. Go all out. You deserve it. You earned it. You busted your ass. You're a smart business owner. Go for it. However, for most men, and Tim, you and I have been coaching for a long time. We literally have thousands upon thousands of men that come through. For most men, they'll say the experiences are more important to them. The
mm,
education, the growth is more important. And that's if you're not investing your time in growth, guys, you're missing out because that's really what most people want. When you look at the hierarchy of needs, if you're going for significance, which is what you're doing when you buy the car and stuff, you're going to lose. That always leads to disappointment. If you're going for love, connection, and growth, those three things, love and connection are usually the same. So, love, connection, and growth, that's how you win. So, when you're buying something, when you're doing something, are you going for love, connection, and growth, or are you going for significance? If it's significance, skip it. That's what I would do.
great advice. Great advice. So, we've heard it from the man himself, Mr. Dougie Fresh. Doug, thank you so much for your insight. Something that you often say, which I love. The moment of insight, take massive action. So, guys, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Powerful Man Show.
All right, guys, that's a wrap for this episode. But as I always say, in the moment of insight, take massive action. You see, there are two types of men that listen to a podcast like this. Those that go on from one podcast or show to another, just hoping things are going to change. and realizing that they're going to be in the same place month after month, year after year. You see, I was this guy, so I completely get it. You may just not be ready. But there's also a second man that listens to a show just like this. And this is a guy who takes massive action so they can shorten the learning curve, compress time, and get results to be the wolf. See, wolf is an acronym for wise, open, loving, and fierce. Now, ask yourself, which one am I? And just be honest with yourself there. And there's no judgment on my end, but if you're ready to move from deactivated deer mode, which is defend, excuse, explain, react, to activated wolf, wise, open, loving, and fierce, then go over to thepowerfulman.com/grow and go there now. In fact, I'll make it super easy for you. I will even put the link right in the description here, so you can just click it and go over there now to learn more. Guys, in the moment of insight, take massive action. Go from deactivated to activated, because like I said, life is too short for average. And I'll see you on the next episode.